People around Thomas called him Didymus, which means twin. You would think that this commentary would reveal something of significance regarding this, but then we're never told who his twin was. We don't know whether it impacts the way he sees the world or that it feeds or starves his personal ambitions. We don't know whether it shapes or distorts his dreams. We're never told whether or not he is driven by it or negatively impacted by it. We don't know whether he lives with his twin or are they especially close as we might imagine. We don't know this because we're also not given his place of residence and are left to assume that perhaps he is born and raised in Galilee. What we do know about him is because Mary and Martha, when Lazarus gets critically sick and they send word for Jesus to come to Bethany, Jesus remains on the other side of the Jordan for another 2 days. Jesus delays going, of course, because he is under credible threat, and those who are intent on eliminating him are very serious in their plans to kill him. When Jesus announces to the disciples that he intends to go to Bethany to see about his dear friend, the disciples try to dissuade him, reminding him that the Jewish authorities in Jerusalem wanted to stone him to death. They understood how unsafe this visit would really be, and Jesus teaches them. He's not walking blindly into this. He's very much aware of what is facing him, but it must happen at the right time, in the right places, to ensure that redemption is secured, just as the prophets foretold and precisely how God intends, so that it's in sync with God's ultimate will. Thomas understood Jesus' relationship with his friends, Lazarus, Martha, and Mary, and he knew that Jesus had to make the visit, and we see a huge display of Thomas's character and courage when he willingly volunteers to go with Jesus, even in the face of death. He becomes the example of strength and loyalty, and yet at the same time, his words reveal just a touch of human fatalism. He says to the other disciples, well, let's go with Jesus so we can die with him. The courageous display for him is that he thinks Jesus is worth it. He's willing to walk what he believes are fatal steps into Bethany, and if following Jesus means that he will die, then he is willing to give up his life, all for the master. Now, I only mention this because I want you to know his strength in the beginning. I want you to internalize his courage, his loyalty, and his commitment to Jesus. This provides a different lens when in our focal text this weekend, the disciples have all been able to see and encounter the resurrected Lord. And Jesus' appearance to them was at a time when Thomas was not around. The first day morning when Jesus appears, he does so first, you will remember, to Mary Magdalene, the 2 people from Emmaus, Peter, and the 10 other disciples in the upper room. But Thomas was not there. He stayed away for whatever reason, we're not told, but when he does show up, he expresses his doubt about Jesus' resurrection. And when he's told that Jesus is in fact alive, he tells the others that he will not believe it until he himself sees the marks in the master's hands and he's able to touch the open wound in the master's side. At that point, it didn't matter as much that Jesus had taught them over and over repetitively that he would be killed and on the 3rd day would rise from the dead. Thomas didn't believe Jesus could be alive, and it makes sense to me why. He knew how horrible Jesus' death on the cross had been, and that his body had been laid right after in the tomb, and a stone had been rolled over the mouth of the tomb and sealed. Guards were posted to ensure that his body was not stolen or removed from the tomb. Thomas was clear. I've walked with you all, and we've seen a lot together. We've been taught a lot. We've experienced a lot. We've grown a lot. We've matured a lot. Jesus' impact in our lives has been nothing short of transformational. But if I'm going to believe that Jesus is alive, having truly risen from the dead, I'm going to have to see him for myself. And I'm going to need to touch those wounds in his hand and in his side. Now, Thomas has carried a bad rap for this expression of doubt. A week later, however, Thomas is with the other disciples in the upper room with the door locked for their own safety, when Jesus literally appears on the other side of a locked door in their midst and says to them, "Peace be with you." And this time he is there to single out Thomas. This is how important Thomas is to Jesus. This is how instructive this exchange is to us with regard to what Jesus thought about Thomas's doubt and his suspicion of the others regarding the report that Jesus is alive. Jesus speaks directly to Thomas. He invites him to satisfy his doubts by touching his nail marks and to thrust his hand in Jesus' side. Jesus literally helps Thomas to emerge from his doubt, and he does when, after seeing Jesus, he then finally says, "My Lord and my God." And these words bespeak now his spiritual transformation. They confirm that he is now totally convinced that Jesus is in fact alive, having risen from the dead. Now, I want to suggest that Jesus did not correct Thomas. He did not condemn Thomas. He does not judge Thomas harshly or dismiss him because of his doubt, because he saw his doubt as a bridge. He saw his doubt as a catalyst, as a way, as a stream, as a path to mature his faith. His doubt was not a deterrent to his faith. It actually fed his faith, and it put him in the exact place to be transformed into a deeply convicted witness who would then impact lives and lead many others to Jesus. And here's the point I want to make this weekend. Many of us have been really hard on ourselves, I would say far too hard on ourselves, for nursing so many doubts in our lives. The purposes God has revealed to us, the gifts God has given to us, the opportunities and the ways that God has decided to shape us, the struggles and the stresses that we are made to manage, the people that we're connected to, the projects to which we have devoted ourselves. We carry doubts about the paths that we are on. We're carrying doubts about where those paths are leading us and the decisions we have made and the decisions that are beckoning us as we press to move forward in our lived human experience. Every single person, Christian and otherwise, carries doubts. We carry doubts about our strengths and our weaknesses, our value and our worth. We carry doubts about God's plan and purposes for us, his will for our lives. We carry doubts about life and what it will hold for us. And I could go on all day infinitum. And in most instances, we shield our doubts. We suppress our doubts. We hide them from others and attempt to deny them even to ourselves. We often feel guilty for carrying doubts and are disappointed in ourselves that we're even nursing them. Why can't we be decisive, and why can't we just go along and accept that things are going to work out and that the Lord is moving as he promised? Why do I wonder and speculate and carry such fears and reservations? Why do I paint these pictures of a different reality than is eventuating before me? But might I remind us that Jesus does not rebuke Thomas. He does not condemn Thomas for being stubborn and vocal about his doubts. He does not rebuke him. He grows him and pushes him and gives him proofs and lets him confront his doubts with convincing confirmations that helps Thomas to believe that Jesus is exactly who he says that he is, and that he is in fact risen from the dead. I think the sermon is relevant. I think it's inviting us to grow our faith. In fact, I'll make the unpopular sermonic announcement this weekend. The Lord knows you carry doubts. and he knows you are refereeing the fierce battle between your faith and your doubts. He knows you love him. He knows that you know that he's real. He knows that you worship him. He knows that you believe in his word. He knows that you believe in salvation and that you're grateful for redemption, but he also knows you carry doubts. He knows that faith and doubt are always in coexistence. And you know what this text teaches me? It teaches me that while faith and doubt do exist in coexistence, they don't have to be adversaries. You don't have to create an agitating relationship between them. It's okay to wonder, should you open your life to certain people? And if you feel the Lord has pressed them into this season of your life, you don't have to avoid the suspicions you carry about the doors your gifts have opened for you. And don't create internal struggle for yourself because you're stepping into seasons while doubting if you really have what it takes. Don't feel ashamed that your boldness is tempered by your doubt as to whether the Lord is going to make you strong enough or capable enough. Faith and doubt does not have to be in an adversarial relationship. Faith and doubts are not enemies when belief is the field upon which they engage the tension. Thomas never doubted Jesus. He only doubted that Jesus could come back from the dead the way that he did. He followed Jesus, remember, and because his doubts and faith are wrestling on the field of an already certain assurance that Jesus is real, Jesus stepped between Thomas's faith and doubts and lets his doubts usher him to new awarenesses, convicting and convincing truths, and powerful spiritual transformations. I feel like preaching. I'm being led to preach this because all of us need to hear it. Your doubts are not to be hidden. They're not to be suppressed. You don't have to ignore them. Instead, if you are allowing faith and doubt to wrestle on the same playing field of a centered and anchored spiritual belief in Jesus, you don't have to ignore your doubts. They can be offered in truth so that Jesus can prove to you that he is as powerful over the cruelest of human circumstances, that he's stronger than the greatest of life's experiences, that he's working in the strangest of life's encounters, and he can bring strength to the most fragile of human thoughts and emotions. If you don't own your doubts, you will deny yourself the chance to touch Jesus in ways that will settle your doubts for you. If you don't own your doubts, you will not be offered by him the chance to step close enough to know for yourself that he's present, that he's real, that he's good, that he's loving, that he's able, that he's capable, that he's willing, that he is risen from the dead.